I still remember the way the morning light crept through the curtains that day. Soft, golden, almost gentle. It was the kind of light that makes everything look peaceful. Ordinary. But nothing about that morning was safe. My hand trembled as I lifted the coffee mug from the table. The steam curled upward, and for a moment I focused on that, because focusing on anything else meant facing what I just read. My wife's phone lay on the counter, still unlocked, still glowing. And on that screen in black and white was the sentence that would end 30 years of my life in half a minute. I wish last night never ended. You make me feel alive again. He doesn't even look at me anymore. I stared at it until the words blurred. My name wasn't there, but I didn't need it to be. I knew the tone, the rhythm, the kind of intimacy that only comes when two people have crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. My wife, Linda, had always been careful. Or maybe I'd just been blind. We met when we were 22. I was quiet, steady, building a small construction business with nothing but borrowed tools and late nights. She was bright, confident, the kind of woman who could make a room stop moving just by walking in. She believed in me before I believed in myself. I used to joke that she was the blueprint for my dreams. 3 decades, 2 children, 1 mortgage, and countless shared dinners later, I thought we'd made it. But standing there, reading those words, I realized I'd been living in a version of our marriage that only existed in my head. Tom. Her voice floated in from the hallway. I dropped the phone back onto the counter. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. She stepped into the kitchen, still in her robe, hair damp from the shower. She smiled, that easy, practiced smile, and reached for the coffee pot. "Morning," she said softly. "You're up early." I swallowed. My mouth was dry. Yeah. Couldn't sleep. Everything okay? There it was, the question that should have been ordinary but suddenly felt like a test. I studied her face. The same face I'd kissed every morning for years. The same face that used to light up when I walked in from work. But now, all I could see was a stranger wearing my wife's skin. "Yeah," I said. "Everything's fine." And I meant it, in a way. Everything was clear. I didn't confront her. Not right away. I spent the entire day pretending nothing was wrong. We had dinner together, roast chicken, her favorite. She laughed at something on TV. She asked about our son's new job. She kissed me goodnight like always. And all the while, I replayed that message in my mind like a curse. Every smile looked like a lie. Every word felt rehearsed. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering how many nights she'd come home from him and slipped under the sheets beside me, smelling faintly of perfume that wasn't hers. I didn't sleep. I just counted the cracks in the ceiling until the first trace of dawn bled into the room. The next morning while she showered, I went to her phone again. This time I didn't hesitate. I scrolled. And what I found wasn't one message. It was months of them. Little details. Secret meetings. A conference that never existed. A hotel near the lake. I saw things I'll never be able to unsee. Things that hollowed me out from the inside. When she walked out of the bathroom humming, towel wrapped around her hair, I couldn't look at her. Something in me snapped. Quietly, completely. Strange what you think about when your world collapses. I didn't think about revenge. Or anger. Or even the man she betrayed me with. I thought about all the mornings we spent drinking coffee before the kids woke up. The nights she'd fallen asleep on my shoulder during a movie. The times I'd held her hand during funerals, vacations, storms. 30 years. All those tiny moments that were supposed to mean something, and she threw it all away for this. For a cheap thrill that made her feel alive. By the time she came downstairs, I'd already made my decision. The house was quiet. The suitcase by the door was small, just enough for what mattered. She looked confused when she saw it. "Tom, what's going on?" I turned to her slowly. For the first time in days, I wasn't shaking. I wasn't even angry. Just tired, the kind of tired that seeps into your bones. "I saw your messages," I said. The color drained from her face. "Tom, I can explain." "There's nothing to explain." My voice surprised me, calm, almost detached. You made your choice. Please just listen. I listened for 30 years. I cut in. Now it's your turn. She froze. You want to feel alive, I said quietly. Then feel this. The moment your husband stops loving you. Her lip trembled. Tears welled up, but I didn't wait to see them fall. I picked up the suitcase, opened the door and stepped outside. Took me exactly 30 seconds. I drove aimlessly for hours, past familiar streets and unfamiliar faces. Every mile that grew between us felt like breathing after being underwater too long. But the pain, God, the pain didn't fade. It sat there, sharp and relentless, carving pieces out of me. I ended up by the lake, the same one where we used to take the kids fishing. The same one she'd used for her lies. I sat there until the sun began to sink, the reflection rippling on the water like fractured glass. I wanted to scream, cry, to go back. But mostly I wanted to understand why. The days that followed blurred together. My daughter called, confused. Dad, Mom said you left. What happened? I told her it was complicated. I couldn't bring myself to poison her image of her mother. Not yet. Linda called too. Dozens of times. Texts, emails. Each one more desperate than the last. I made a mistake. Please come home. We can fix this. But you can't rebuild something that's already turned to ash. Weeks passed. I stayed with my brother for a while. I tried to focus on work, but my mind kept drifting back to her. Thus, how do you erase 30 years of habit? Don't. You just learn to live around the hole. One night, she showed up at my brother's place. I heard her voice outside before I saw her. Tom, please, she said through the door. I ended it. I swear to you it's over. I opened the door just enough to see her face. She looked smaller somehow, fragile, lost. I don't care if it's over, I said softly. You killed something that doesn't come back. She reached out but I stepped back. Don't, I said. Please don't. Her tears came then, real, shaking sobs that once would have broken me. But now they just sounded like echoes in an empty room. I love you, she whispered. Close the door. Then you should have acted like it. It's been a year now. I've rebuilt pieces of my life. Slowly, painfully. I bought a small cabin near the lake, but not that lake. A different one. Cleaner. Quieter. Sometimes I still catch myself setting 2 plates at dinner. Old habits die hard. People say time heals everything. I don't think that's true. Time just teaches you how to live with a scar. But I'm learning something else too. That peace doesn't come from forgetting what happened. Comes from accepting that it did. The last time I saw Linda was at our son's wedding. She looked older, not in years but in the kind of way guilt ages you. When our eyes met across the room, she smiled, small and uncertain. I nodded back. That was all. No bitterness. No anger. Just distance. During the father of the groom dance, I watched her wipe a tear from her cheek. Maybe it was pride. Maybe regret. Maybe both. But I didn't feel empty anymore. Just lighter. People ask me sometimes, would I ever take her back? The answer is no. Not because I hate her but because I finally love myself enough not to. Betrayal doesn't just end love. It changes it. Warps it into something unrecognizable. And once you see the truth behind someone's smile, you can't unsee it. That morning, the one that started with coffee and ended with me walking out, used to haunt me. Now it defines me. 30 years of marriage ended in 30 seconds. And for the first time in my life, those 30 seconds belonged entirely to me.